Working families face so many challenges, and it's been my mission to alleviate all those burdens in every way that I can. Too many people can't afford to miss even a day's pay, but then crises arise, sometimes seemingly small, sometimes catastrophic, and they live in fear of losing income vital to their family's survival or other repercussions at work. When their car breaks down, when their child gets sick, when an elderly parent needs help. That's the case for hundreds of thousands of Illinois workers and millions of employees all across the nation. In just a few moments, that's all going to change for Illinois' working families when I sign into law the Paid Leave for All Workers Act, guaranteeing It's a law that will guarantee paid time off for Illinois workers starting January 1, 2024. Today, we will become the third state in the nation to require paid time off and the first among the largest states. I'm exceptionally proud that labor and business came together to recognize the value of this requirement to employees and employers alike. I'd especially like to recognize the leadership of Rob Carr of the Illinois Retail Merchants Association, as well as Mark Denzler and of the Illinois Manufacturers Association, represented today by Anissa Muthana, CEO of Pioneer Services Manufacturing in Addison, Illinois. Employers benefit from allowing employees to tend to the urgent personal matters of their lives. Workers' productivity increases, and they often gain greater passion for their job when they can manage the stresses that they face outside of work more easily. Doing what's right for businesses and employees is the balance that we're always looking to advance here in Illinois. I want to take a moment to recognize that this achievement also wouldn't have gotten over the finish line without the incredible leadership of Speaker Pro Tem Jahan Gordon Booth on my left, and Majority Leader Kimberly Lightford on my right. This has been a multi-year endeavor for them and for so many others, and it's their persistence that has led us here today. There's work ahead, but together we continue to build a state that truly serves as a beacon for families and businesses and good-paying jobs. With that, I'd like to introduce my partner in governance, the world's greatest Lieutenant Governor, Juliana Stratton.
Thank you, Governor Pritzker, for that warm introduction and for always putting the well-being of Illinoisans at the forefront. The governor has already acknowledged the incredible leaders, advocates, men and women of organized labor, business leaders, and elected officials joining us today who every day work for the people. So thank you all for getting us to this monumental moment. But I certainly also want to uplift the chief sponsors of the Paid Leave for All Workers Act, Leader Kimberly Lightford and Speaker Pro Tem Jahan Gordon Booth. It's only fitting, by the way, that during Women's History Month, these two her story makers have led this fight to improve the lives of all families, but especially women who are disproportionately responsible for all forms of caregiving. Today, with the signing of this act, we make it clear that we'll continue to be a national leader when it comes to standing up for our working families and letting our working families know that you are not only valuable, talented, and skilled workers, you are also parents, you are support systems, you are neighbors, and you are caregivers. The Paid Leave for All Workers Act guarantees every working Illinois can get time off for any reason, and everyone deserves this peace of mind. And I say this not only as your Lieutenant Governor, but also as a working mom and a former caregiver. I had the privilege of serving as the primary caregiver for my mom, Velma. And for the last 13 years of her life, she lived with me and my family. And in the last 3 years of her life, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's-related dementia. And I witnessed firsthand the stress that comes with being a caregiver, of having to navigate this new responsibility while I had to manage being a mom to my daughters and having a career. And while I would do it again in a heartbeat if I could, I remember when there were days that it was hard to get out of the house because I had to tend to my mom's needs. And other days I'd make it to the office, but just when I got settled, I'd be called back home to address some sort of unexpected issue or a need to take her to the doctor. All this while my heart was breaking as I watched my mom's condition deteriorate. It was so stressful that most days I felt like I was walking around with a knot in my chest. But I had to work to take care of my family, and I had to make sure my mom was okay as the dementia progressed and she was unable to care for herself. Fortunately, I had the support of my employer, but there are far too many Illinoisans who are put between a rock and a hard place when life happens, and life does happen to all of us. Too many who feel like they have to choose between their job and their loved ones, and honestly, that is a false choice. When you don't have the space to be fully present and attend to someone's needs, it can feel like you don't have room to take a breath. It's not good for your well-being, it's not good for those you care for, and it's certainly not good for the work that you do. So with this act, we're taking the burden off the shoulders of Illinois families and taking another step toward making this state the best in the nation to live and work. We want you to thrive, and so we say to the families of Illinois, we see you, we hear you, and we'll continue to make progress alongside you. Thank you, and with that, I'll now pass it over to a powerful advocate for communities in the General Assembly and an incredible working mom herself, Speaker Pro Tem Jahan Gordon Booth.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
If I could, I want to lift up some folks. Certainly, Senator Lightford and myself have the distinction and the opportunity to be able to stand here at this podium. But this work, the passage, not just the passage, but the signing of this bill today would not be possible if it weren't for a lot of folks. I want to look to my left, and I want to acknowledge Erica Bland, SCIU Healthcare, who has been an amazing partner in this fight for four long but patient years. The women of Women Employed, Sarah Labrady, Wendy Pollock, they are incredible advocates in this space. And frankly, we're working on this bill long before I showed up to the table. My good friend Zach Kotsky, who used to be with UFCW, who was a staunch advocate for this legislation from the very inception. Again, to our partners, not just in labor, but also on the business side. Rob Carr, Alec Leard with the Illinois Retail Merchants Association, Donovan Griffin and Mark Densler with the IMA, because again, when we have the ability to pass legislation like this that impacts literally 4 million Illinoisans, it's because of the work that we're able to do together. And I stand here today particularly proud as a working mom who has a young daughter who is in the hospital and in doctor's offices far often than I would ever like her to be. But that is the situation and the hand that we've been dealt, and so we make the best of it. And the reality of it is I feel the luxury to be able to, when I have to pull away, I have the ability to pull away when necessary and have the presence of mind to know that many of the pressures of life, the high cost of electricity, the high cost of groceries, that I don't have to make the choice between being able to put food on my daughter's table, to being able to put food on the table, being able to cover some of those utility costs, but also being able to be present and to be able to do this thing called adulting in a way that provides dignity. And I don't just stand here today with my colleague as a working mom, because that's not what this bill is about. I'm giving you my story because we all show up in this space carrying the stories of ourselves, of our communities on our backs. But this is about bringing dignity to all workers, because that is who is impacted by paid leave for all. All workers in the state of Illinois will be covered by this transformational policy that, again, would not be possible had it not been for the labor community being staunch advocates for this policy, for working men and women in this state. If it wasn't for the advocates stepping up and fighting for this, and the business community holding our hands in partnership in order to be able to deliver such a powerful, powerful benefit to bring dignity to workers all over the state of Illinois. So I'm proud to stand here today with my colleagues and friends and look forward to the signing of this bill, because it has been absolutely a long time coming. Up next to the podium, up next at the podium is someone who needs no introduction, because she has historically been showing us what it means to pass not only progressive policy but pro-business policies here in the state of Illinois, and that's none other than Majority Leader Kimberly Lightford.
Thank you, Speaker Gordon Booth. She's much too generous. You guys really need to know she worked so hard on this initiative. As the governor stated, and many of us have, it changed hands so many times. This is an issue that has been lingering around the General Assembly for far too long. So I'm really glad that it landed in my lap when it came over to the Senate. I know that former Senator Toy Hutchinson carried this bill for a little bit too, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned Toy. But again, thank you to everyone for coming out today to celebrate this monumental piece of legislation. About 4 million workers, as Speaker Jordan just mentioned, in Illinois, do not have access to even a single sick day. So I want to give you a little story, because I want to say that again. Can you imagine people in this state cannot take a sick day without being penalized or losing their pay? Now, let's think about that for just a second. Imagine your child is down with the flu, a bad cold, or even COVID, and you are one of these millions of people. You have to consider, should I leave my child home alone or risk losing my job? Or imagine your car breaks down unexpectedly and you have no way to make it to work. You have to worry about if you'll be able to put food on the table. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, why should a person have to think for just 1 second if they will risk losing their job or losing wages if they stay home to take care of themselves or their loved one? Don't we think that should be a basic human right? Yes. Today I stand before you. Thank you. Basic human right. Today I stand before you to proudly say that in Illinois, thanks to our governor, those worries are no more, thanks to the signing of the Paid Leave for Workers Act. And through this law, we are requiring employees to receive a minimum of 40 hours of paid leave to be used for any reason within a 12-month period. Over 3/4 of low-wage workers do not have paid sick leave. And unfortunately, Black and Latino people, as well as women, are overrepresented among low-wage workers relative to their share of the total number in the workforce. Too many low-wage workers go to work sick because they cannot afford to take unpaid leave, and then they make everybody else sick, and fear losing their job if they do. That's just simply inhumane. Thanks to this measure, workers have the peace of mind that they can take care of themselves today without worrying about the consequences tomorrow. As I leave the podium, I'd like to thank my colleagues, all of my colleagues that are standing here in the General Assembly, for working just as hard to make sure this came to fruition. I'd like to definitely thank the governor and lieutenant governor. Since we've had them in over the helm of the state, we've passed so much progressive legislation that we'd worked on for decades. So governor and lieutenant governor, thank you so much for supporting this law that affirm workers who need to care for their health care needs or the health care needs of their loved ones are given the much deserved right to do so. And it is a right. Thank you so much. Oh, I do that every time. Forgive me, Miss Anissa Mutana.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Governor. On behalf of the Illinois Manufacturing Association, I would like to thank everyone for coming out today and for this act. As a CEO and of 2 manufacturing companies, it's my pleasure to join to celebrate this new paid leave law that will help employers invest in their employees. Currently, Illinois manufacturers employ more than 650,000 individuals. That's 14% of our state's economy. Manufacturers invest in our human capital, which is our most important asset, by paying wages and benefits that average more than $80,000 a year. I think that's the secret here, right? We need to get that out. Providing also the necessary skills and training to be successful. For the record, nationally, more than 94% of manufacturers already provide a paid leave and employer-funded health care. We do it not because we have to. We do it because we care. I've been in this industry for over 30 years, and I am proud to be CEO and co-owner of 2 companies, Pioneer Service and M&M Quality Bar Grinding. Both machining facilities contribute to a wide variety of industries, everything from aerospace to the parts of electrical vehicles, something I know you're a fan of. And let's not forget that we served the medical and biotech industries during the battle against COVID. I'll end with a friendly reminder. Manufacturers are makers. The process of bringing people together to make something that will go on to serve a bigger purpose is where our passion lies. Knowing that the parts that leave our shops are contributing to the world at large, touching lives, fuels us as manufacturers. That's the passion that the governor was talking about. The pandemic was only one of many examples that we stepped up and we shined, and we continue to shine and thrive. I ask all officials, local and national, to advocate for this industry, the industry that is the backbone of this country. Thank you. I'm sorry. The next speaker is Bob Reeder. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Bob Reiter. I'm president of the Chicago Federation of Labor. The CFL represents 300 unions who in turn represent 500,000 working people in Chicago and Cook County, the hometown of the American labor movement. And today our state takes another step in the right direction in improving the lives of every Illinoisan. Guaranteed pay leave is now provided for all workers in our state. And while some workers already enjoy this benefit, guaranteeing it for every worker in Illinois creates a standard that will benefit all working people and their families. And I have to tell you how proud I am to be here with you talking about it. And first, I want to thank our Governor, JB Pritzker, and Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, because making sure that you have a pro-worker agenda right off the bat is what helps us get here to a bill signing today. If you think about where we were 4 years ago, right about this time, the governor was signing into legislation historic minimum wage legislation that we hadn't seen at the state level ever before. That's a big deal. Starting out his second term, he's doing the same thing, and we keep raising the bar. I would like to thank first, and you'll hear from him a little bit, the president of the Illinois AFL-CIO, Tim Dre, who helps convene all of us on the labor side so we can do big things. But Tim and I can't do big things without other people in our leadership and activism that are not only standing with us, but pushing us every step of the way. And I'm very proud to have with us because, to be honest with you, she could be at this podium right now telling this story probably in a lot better ways than I can, and that's Erica Bland from SEIU. You see, I come from a household that would have benefited from this law. Back in the 70s and 80s, when I was a little kid, my mom worked as an emergency room nurse midnights at Silver Cross Hospital in Joliet. My dad was a construction worker that on occasion would get to work, and sometimes during the early 80s, more often he'd be off work. But having these benefits while my parents were trying to scratch things together would have helped them be able to have a more productive family life with all of us. Because having one parent who couldn't take a day off while another parent was out trying to piece together random pieces of work because his full-time job wasn't happening, these are the struggles that still happen today. And we're starting to close that gap by passing this kind of legislation. So I want to thank Speaker Pro Tem Jahan Gordon Booth, who's been a staunch advocate, and Leader Lightford, who's been there. It's all right, Kim. But the first time I ever sat with Kim Lightford, was over minimum wage, and it was way before JB Pritzker came and helped us get it across the finish line, because it took this team to make that happen, and this team to make this happen. So I'm going to pass it off to Tim Dre here in a second, but I want to say how incredible it is to celebrate this and move the ball further down the field for workers in Illinois. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. And I want to start out by saying we're talking about parents and things. I had a strong mother, and it took a while, but I finally learned to listen to her. But I got to tell you, when there were many times when these negotiations stalled. I mean, they were dead. This bill dead. Leader Booth, Gordon Booth, I'd see that on the phone. Get over here, and before I could get over there, Leader Lightford would be saying, get over here. You're going to get this table. We're not going to leave until. So I thank my mother for telling me to listen to strong women. And I'm better off today for it. Yeah, so thank you. Love you all. Thank you.
Get me out there, Kim.
Actually, she said you could take me to the woodshed once. Anyway, again, speaking of strong women, Erica Bland, Wendy Pollock, Sarah Lighterby. I have to talk about Zach Kowski, because, again, strong women in his lives. But a partner, Pat Devaney, Alyssa Goodstein. It was just a group effort, the CFL, Andrea Kluger. Everybody, I can't tell you how many, I could stand here all day, but we're going to sign a bill. What they did to get this bill through. This is a big deal. And Pat and I sit twice a month, we sit on a phone call with state federation presidents from all around the Midwest. And Michigan's finally seen the light, Governor. But places like Iowa, where they're putting 13-year-olds in meat packing plants, and we get on the phone and say, this is a state that respects workers' rights. I can't tell you how important that is, Governor. I can't tell you how important that is. So with that, this bill's important, and a lot of people have said this, but I like to really sum it up simple. This gives a worker paid time off when work gets in the way of life. That's all it does. Work gets in the way of life. And for years, we've had collective bargaining agreements that recognize that, but not all employers did. Not, CEOs, they get it, middle management gets it, union members get it. This bill gives it to every worker in the state. That says a lot. And so with that, I know you're all in this room getting ready and you want to start figuring out how you're going to use your paid time off. So with that, Governor, if you would sign that bill, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, oh, maybe you want to go around the other side? Thank you. There you go. You want to go stand on the side? We got fancy pens. They didn't change. I don't think so. They don't get enough. Awesome. Awesome. Amen. You want to go next? Go stand next to me.
Come on, Wendy. Come on, Sarah. Yep.
Yes.
Those are the ladies that take credit. They should be up front and center.
I'm smiling like they're taking pictures of me.
Someone will get it?
Oh, I'm sorry, you okay?
See? Lieutenant Governor.
Okay, I'm going to take a few questions and then we'll wrap it up. Happy to take any questions from members of the media. Yes, ma'am. Good to see you.
I think that we can stress that this really is something that provides more than just sick leave, which as we know is already guaranteed for workers within the city of Chicago, but it's really something that is paid leave for any reason.
That's right. And it's what's important to recognize is that there are an awful lot of people outside of the city of Chicago who before today did not have any guaranteed paid time off. And so this sets a floor for all of them and also recognizes how important it is that we allow families to take just that. Sometimes life gets in the way. Someone said, work gets in the way of life. Sometimes life gets in the way of life. Things happen in your life that are maybe small emergencies to someone else, but a big emergency in your own life. And so this is just one way and one beginning to what needs to happen to guarantee the rights of workers.
Governor, have you met with Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson? Have they asked for your endorsement, and what have you told them?
I have. I've met with each of them, and I've told them that my intention is to work with whoever wins this race, and so I look forward to hearing even more. I know we've got a few weeks left in this campaign, but it's important that the governor work with the mayor, whoever that is, and so I'm going to watch. And of course, I'm a voter, so I live in Chicago. I'll have to make that decision when the time comes.
Are they seeking your endorsement?
They have, and I've told them, as I've told all of you, I think it's important for me to stay clear of endorsing, mainly because I want to make sure that we're able to work together, whoever it is that wins.
The Comment 4 trial starts tomorrow. Are you watching it? What are you hoping to see?
Well, I'm a little busy each day, so I know these are happening during the day. I've always said that those who breach the law should be held accountable, especially when it comes to breaking the public trust. And so, we'll have to see how the trial wears on. But I don't think I'll have a chance to watch each day, maybe some highlights, or maybe I'll get to read in some of your publications.
Another court-related question, Governor. Last week, the Supreme Court accepted an appeal on the assault weapons ban out of Macon County. Tomorrow, oral arguments in the Safety Act case. How do you feel? Are you concerned with these two major pieces of legislation that you find hanging in the balance based on what the court decided?
Well, I know, it's the last refuge of those who can't win at the ballot box to take something to court to try to have it overturned, even though they are wrong when they say it's unconstitutional. As you know, this is the law, at least talking about the assault weapons ban, it's the law in 8 other states. Illinois is simply the 9th, and we're trying to protect people. It doesn't protect people everywhere all the time for, from firearms, but it does protect a percentage of people, and I think we'll do something to keep the people of Illinois safe. And I think the Supreme Court is going to give it a fair hearing, but I can tell you that all the lawyers and people who are involved in crafting the legislation feel confident that it'll come out the right way.
And on cash bail, what's at stake if the court overturns the law that takes away cash bail?
I don't expect that they will overturn it. There's no rationale that makes any sense to overturn it. So I'm looking forward to that becoming law.
Governor, do you have any words of comfort for small business owners who might be seeing this today and anxious, given the last 3 years of what they've had, the struggles that they've been through, the fact that there are no limitations on what these hours can be used for, concerns that this could put them over the edge and knock them out of business?
Well, let's, remember that these are earned, days off. So it's not as if you take a job one day and all of a sudden have 5 days off. And so I think just like bigger businesses, small businesses want their workers to be more productive, to be able to deal with their stresses and emergencies at home so they can be better and more productive at work. And so I want to encourage anybody who's concerned about that just to look at and remind the workers that work for them how important it is that we have a law like that protects workers in the state of Illinois and that helps employers, as I say, help their workers be more productive. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.